Hi, I'm Patrick Peel, the CEO of East Anglian Air Ambulance. We want everyone to thrive and develop at EAAA. Everyone has an equal voice. Everyone can say their piece and contribute to life and work here. It's a very flat respect structure. We set out our store with our values of respectfulness, accountability, integrity, support and evolution. We're not yet where we should and can be, but I'm immensely proud of the diverse talent that we've already attracted. For example, more than half our directors and senior managers are female, and it's no surprise to see a majority of women in a crew at scene, pilot, doctor or paramedic. We want to be part of encouraging more women into these careers, which is why we're excited to host our first ever International Women's Day event this year on March the 8th, where you can hear firsthand from them and other amazing women who make EAAA what it is. Here, whether you're male or female, young or old, doesn't matter. What does matter is doing the very best for every patient we attend and living our values. That's all. We'll continue to do better and choose to challenge gender inequality, and we're proud to do so. Thank you.
Hi everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for the first International Women's Day event that we're hosting here at East Anglian Air Ambulance. I'm Holly Marshall. I'm the Strategic Relationships and Partnerships Manager here at the charity, and I'll be your host for the evening. For those of you that don't know much about the work that we do here, we're a helicopter emergency medical service for people across Norfolk, Suffolk, Cambridgeshire and Bedfordshire. And we help patients who've suffered a life-threatening or life-changing accident or injury. So we have two pilots, a doctor and a critical care paramedic who travel by helicopter or rapid response vehicle to bring A&E level care to a patient directly on scene. So basically, when your life is in danger and you need help quickly, we bring hospital level interventions to you when you need them most. Our crews fly on average 8 times a day. And during the pandemic, we've also been assisting our colleagues in the NHS by doing inter-hospital transfers for COVID patients. So this means our crews have been wearing level 3 PPE for over 8 hours at a time in obviously super stressful, difficult conditions. We wanted to do that to help support the pandemic effort. And as for so many, you know, the last 12 months have been really difficult for lots of people involved in the charity, but hopefully tonight you can hear kind of why we do what we do and why we find it so rewarding. If you saw the video that Patrick, our chief exec, starred in before the show, or you saw it on social media today, you'll know that EAAA is based on a flat structure. And we have brilliant values that include respect, integrity, and evolution. And working in this way enables us to do the best that we can to achieve our ultimate goal of saving lives. To continue to do that, though, we need to make sure the next generation of amazing, excellent people come to join our sector. So traditionally still the frontline emergency work is male dominated, and in the aviation industry 95% of commercial pilots are still male. So we wanted to host this event tonight. We feel we've got a duty as an air ambulance to highlight the women that work with us and kind of celebrate the different roles that they play in our charity, inspire the next generation of people to join our sector, and spark meaningful conversations around equality. Before we meet our panel, I just want to show a quick video from a brilliant organisation called Inspiring the Future, and they aim to inspire young people to have futures that they might not otherwise know exist.
This afternoon, we're going to draw people doing different jobs. And the first job we're going to draw is a firefighter.
Have a think in your head what a firefighter looks like.
What's your firefighter called?
Mine's called Firefighter Gary.
Firefighter Stan. Firefighter Simon.
He's big and strong.
He's got a big helmet on.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Next, we're going to draw a surgeon.
Have you thought of a name for your surgeon?
Jim Bob.
Jim Bob.
He's a brain surgeon.
I think he would wear a stethoscope. He gives you medicine.
That's his ambulance.
OK, next, we're going to draw a fighter pilot.
This is his jet plane.
He rescues people.
He likes to do stunts in the air and stuff.
OK, now, who would like to meet these people for real?
Yeah! Faye, they're dressed up.
My name's Tamsin, and I'm a surgeon in the NHS.
My name's Lauren, and I'm a pilot in the Royal Air Force.
My name's Lucy. I'm a firefighter in the London Fire Brigade.
So who wants to know how to do an operation?
Who's putting it on?
I'm trying my stethoscope.
We put this in here.
What does it look like?
There you go. Now you're a proper fighter pilot.
So into your ears. Can you hear that? Yeah. It's really good. It's much better, yeah, it's much better than the kids' one.
Got him.
So hopefully that's made you think a bit differently about some of our perceptions we have of certain roles and how they can influence children. But the reason we wanted to show the video was to try and get us all to think differently about how we think of women in the workplace. And I think in the pandemic, many people are thinking differently about a career path that maybe they hadn't originally thought about, whether it's because they didn't get to do their exams as intended, they didn't get to go to uni, perhaps they've been forced to find new employment, or maybe even the pandemic has just inspired you to think differently about the kind of life that you have and what you want to do now. It's hopefully going to be over soon. So whatever your reason for joining us tonight, whether you're looking for a new career or you simply wanted something different to do during lockdown, then thank you for coming, and we really hope you're going to enjoy the next kind of hour or so. A little bit of housekeeping. So whether you're watching via the web link or on Facebook Live, we have a chat function open. I can see lots of you chatting in that already. So welcome. I can see lots of our amazing volunteers and kind of supporters already joined us, so thank you. Do feed in your questions, thoughts and comments, and we'll try to kind of answer as many as we kind of go along. We just really want to know what you want to hear from the panel. And finally, I wouldn't be a very good fundraiser if I didn't mention the massive yellow button that's at the bottom of the screen if you're watching via the web link. It says donate on it, you've probably seen it. And we need to raise £15 million a year to deliver and develop the work that we do. So we don't receive any regular government funding, and we survive solely because the amazing people of East Anglia support us. So if you feel compelled at any point to make a donation, then thank you. If you click the link to donate, it will open a different tab and you'll still be able to keep on the event. And hopefully you can see across the bottom of the screen as well a text donate option as well, if that's your preference. So anyway, enough from me. Let's introduce you to the amazing women that are going to join us this evening, our 5 panelists.
Oh.
Hi, ladies.
Hi, Holly.
Hi, Holly.
How are you all doing?
Yeah, good. Well, thank you.
Good. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to get started straight away because we've got a lot to cover this evening. But do you want to just do a quick introduction of yourselves? Pam, if we start with you.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Pam.
Hello, everybody. It's lovely to be here. My name is Pam Crispin. I'm one of the doctors on the air ambulance, and I'm also the deputy medical director. I'm an anaesthetist and intensive care doctor by background, and as you can see, I'm definitely the older end of the spectrum in terms of the staff we have. So that's me. Nice to meet everybody.
Kirsten, do you want to go next? You're next on my screen.
Of course, yeah. Hello, I'm Kirsten Jackson. I actually work for Bestpac, and the East Anglian Air Ambulance is our charity of the year this year. So we'll be fundraising to help those guys out. Me personally, I'm a junior quality engineer, and Bestpac manufacture medical devices such as inhalers and check valves and things like that. So I'm sure the air ambulance crew would have used our products at some point. So I look forward to hearing all about their stories.
Thank you so much, Kirsten. For anyone who doesn't quite understand what it is that Kirsten does, and maybe that's just me, then we can do a whole separate session on that another time. Paige, hello. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Paige. I am a critical care paramedic for East Anglian Air Ambulance, and also a paramedic for the East of England Ambulance Service, which is my main employer, and I'm seconded to the air ambulance on a 3-year secondment at the moment. I'm just over halfway through that, but I've been off for the last year on maternity leave, so just coming back now.
Cool. Thank you for joining us, Paige.
No worries.
Henny, go on, you go next.
Hi there. Yeah, I'm Henny. I am a HEMS pilot based out of Norwich. I'm employed by Babcock, who supply pilots to EAAA, and I've been flying for them since last summer.
Cool, thank you. And Henny mentioned HEMS then, so you'll hear us, we love an acronym at EAAA. So HEMS is Helicopter Emergency Medical Service, so it's the field of work that we're in. So you might hear that kind of mentioned quite a lot throughout the evening. Sarah, last but by no means least.
Thanks, Holly. Thank you for having me this evening. I'm Sarah Evans. I'm on the board of trustees, which means I'm a director, really, of the business, and I get involved in oversight of governance of the charity and the strategic direction. I'm an accountant by training, and I bring a variety of both financial and business skills to help the charity.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, welcome all. I can just reading all the excitement in the chat boxes already, so that I'm going to get cracking with questions, because I think there's going to be lots more coming in as we get going. Henny, we're going to have to start with you, because the number one question that we need to do is pilot. And maybe if you can just tell us a bit about what inspired you to enter that career.
Thanks, Holly. Yeah, so I was really fascinated by helicopters from the go, really, from as young as I can remember. And I managed to get my first flying lesson for my birthday, for my 12th birthday, and that got me hooked. That was it. I set my mind on, that was my goal, and that was what I wanted to do. And I didn't really waver from it. I think I was very lucky to find something I was so passionate about. And so I went and completed my training when I was 19. But flying the air ambulance was really my goal from the start. That was really the role that I wanted. So I'm really pleased to have made it to that now.
And did you have anyone that kind of who put air ambulances into your head? Where did that come from?
I think most people would probably say if they hear or see a helicopter in the sky, you look up, don't you, see what it is, and particularly if you see that it's red or yellow in our case, or you know that it's an air ambulance, I think it just sparks an extra little bit of, oh, that's even more exciting. And it was just a role that I felt was a way that I could give back. It just has meaning to me to be able to fly an air ambulance.
Cool, thank you. Anyone else? Do you want to tell us a bit more about kind of your early careers? What got you into the job that you started with?
Don't look at me. No one wants to be an accountant.
Go on, I'll start. I wanted to be a doctor when I was 9, and I kind of knew I always wanted to be a hospital type doctor. I never wanted to be a GP, much as I love my own very old fashioned GP. He was lovely, but I didn't want to be that sort of doctor. I always wanted to be a hospital doctor, and I somehow had in my head that I'd be dealing with patients who'd been involved in trauma and that kind of thing. So so I guess here I am living the dream, really.
And you just had your last shift, Pam, recently.
I did. So yes, just over a week ago. So yes, I've finally, after 12 years, I've hung up my my orange jumpsuit. And I feel I've been able to do that because we've got so many amazing doctors coming up behind me. I mean, there used to be, in the old days, I was the only woman in the locker room, and now there's barely breathing space in there, is there? Which is really exciting from my perspective. So so it's just great. You know, we've got this fantastic cohort of bright young things coming through, and yeah, it's okay for me to step back and let them get on with it now.
Brilliant. And we've had quite a few. Three of the 4 crew females this week. I think Henny, you were working, was it Friday, and there was 3, and then a couple again at the weekend and stuff, which is, you know, which is brilliant, and we just need to see more of it, really. We just need the magic 4, and then we can, you know, we'll have the bingo. But tell us a bit about kind of each of you. What do you think would put people off joining your career? So kind of particularly women. Is there anything that you can think, yeah, I can see why it's a bit hard for some people to think about joining? Paige, maybe with your work, do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Well, I finished university and qualified as a paramedic back when I was 20, so 10 years ago now, and it there was always that sort of added pressure of having to prove yourself maybe just a little bit more than your male colleagues, particularly being very young as well. I think a lot of the time there was very much an undertone of not really being taken seriously for a long time. That's only really recently changed, to be honest. I think with a bit more confidence and a bit more knowledge and experience, the way you come across, I suppose, helps as well. But yeah, for quite a long time, everyone sort of just looked past me to a male colleague perhaps that was stood behind me. Definitely more so in the earlier part of my career. If I was the paramedic as part of a crew and I was perhaps working with a emergency care assistant or a technician that happened to be male and a little bit older, everyone just assumed that they would be the senior clinician within our crew. So that was a little bit frustrating to get past in the first few years of my career. And it is, but this particular type of work is very male dominated, and a lot of military folk as well. So lots of type A sort of characters, and so you have to be quite a strong person to sort of fit in with that and get around your day-to-day business, if you like, without becoming the shy person in the corner that's just very quiet.
Is it difficult though on days when, you know, everybody has days where you wake up and you do feel a bit quiet, or you just feel a bit, you know, slower, or, you know, you just had a baby? There's days and you just feel a bit tired, or, you know, on those days it must be harder to kind of, I mean, do you kind of have to be the person that's loudest to get noticed, or do you just, when I was talking to a lot of you beforehand, you all said it doesn't become about man versus woman, it comes about being the best at the job, so just do what you have to stand out.
Yeah, I think,
do you think it becomes, you know, how do you go about being really good?
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, it can feel a little bit like you have to prove yourself a little bit more than perhaps a male counterpart. But actually, once you're in there and in the team, we've got an amazing bunch that we work with, and it's probably more pressure that you put on yourself rather than what is there in reality, because everyone has been amazing to work with and has really sort of takes you under their wing and and everyone has down, quiet days. It doesn't really make any difference if you're female or male. Everyone sometimes wants to go off and have a little bit of quiet time in the sitting room.
Yeah. And Kirsten, tell us a bit about kind of on the theme of just being really good. Tell us a bit more about how you had a slightly different entry into your career than you had planned, and you then went on to do brilliantly at that option. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so I set out to do my A-levels, and my fantasy career path was a forensic scientist. I have absolutely no idea where that come from. That was just something that grew in my head, and I wanted to do. So I chose my A-levels based on that, and it didn't work out for me. A-levels did not go well for me. I just couldn't do exams. So I looked at different things, different options that were available, and one of those was apprenticeships. So I kind of started looking around at those, and I did engineering at high school. Actually, my teacher in the engineering was female, which inspired me, and I was the only female in my engineering class. But I did really well, and I really enjoyed it. It was very science and maths based. So when I looked at apprenticeships, I first went for engineering because it was science and maths based. And that's kind of a perception, like you spoke about before, that people think engineering and they think about all of the stereotypical engineering kind of routes, whereas this is very maths and science based, and that suited me really well. So I got the apprenticeship at Bestpac, and Bestpac design and manufacture medical devices, but we're based in the plastics industry, so we manufacture using different plastics. So it's very science and maths based. I did really well in my apprenticeship. I did stand out, but in a great way. I did really well in my classes. I got like Apprentice of the Year at my college, and I was noticed because I was one of few apprentices that were female, and noticed in a good way, not just because I was female. So that's definitely
just casually mentioning that you were Apprentice of the Year in your class. It's a pretty cool achievement. I think you did that the first time you told me that as well, just to it's just how you roll. So well done.
Yeah, but to me, like that was just like a bonus. I never aimed for that, which is nice when you are recognised for doing well. And I think you do get a little bit more publicity as well, because being female in engineering, doing well, and obviously we want to highlight that. But it was always a bit of a focus that I get a little bit embarrassed about, really. But it's great. It's great to see women doing well and obviously encourage that. So.
Brilliant. We've got some questions about kind of celebrating women and how we celebrate, but I'll leave them for a bit further, because we've got some really good chat coming in the chat box. So some comments from people. What a wonderful panel of inspiring women. I'm watching with my 3 small children in the hope that they'll learn something and always champion equality of opportunity. Hopefully, kind of hearing the different ways in which people have started their jobs, people are getting that kind of inspiration. As expected, some more questions for you, Henny. So we'll go back to you. So people wanting to know a bit more about where did you learn to fly, and kind of tell us a bit more about your training and what that involved.
Yeah, okay, so I was very lucky. There's 2 options for learning to fly. That's either the military route or the civilian route, and I wasn't that keen on joining the military. So I followed the civilian route. I went when I was 19 to Florida, and I completed a what's called an integrated course. So it's all in together. So it's a full-time course. I did it over a year. So at the end of the year, I walked away with my commercial license, both my American one and my European one. And that left me in a position with not a whole lot of experience, but the license I needed. So I returned to the UK, and you then have 2 choices again. You can either do an instrument rating, which allows you to fly in bad weather and cloud, or you can try and get some work onshore in something that flies visually only. So I chose to do my instrument rating, and when I completed that, I managed to get a job offshore. So I spent 7 years flying offshore out of Aberdeen and Norwich on both so I trained on a Schweitzer, which is a tiny little 2-seater aircraft. And I went from that pretty much through to a S-92, which takes 19 passengers offshore, and is pretty large. And then now I then transferred onto a 189, flew out of Norwich for a few years, and now onto a 145 for EAAA.
I like it. Some good helicopter numbers there for the heli geeks in the group. And so that must, when you were doing the offshore stuff, that must have been fairly heavily male dominated, was it?
Yeah, offshore is very male dominated, and it's definitely quite different to this role. I'm really enjoying working in a team at EAAA, and often with another woman on the team, or two, as was this week. So yeah, that makes a big difference. And I did ask for some stats this week. The Aviation Authority very kindly provided. So there are 1,284 male commercial helicopter pilots in the UK, and there are 44 female.
Wow.
So it's 3% for Rotary. So it really is. It's a great career, and if we can encourage more women into it, that would be a good thing.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Well, yeah, let us know in the chat box if anybody's interested in changing their career now that they've heard more from Henny. I think that it sounds like a pretty good job. They all do. Let's go to a slightly different kind of aspect of the work that we do. So Sarah, you are a member of our trustee board. So again, for people who aren't quite sure on how charities are governed, then we have a chief executive, and we have a board of trustees that are a kind of mixture of individuals from business and with kind of different backgrounds and things like that. And so Sarah sits on our board, and you are active on kind of and have been on a couple of different boards and stuff. But women in the boardroom is still not commonplace at all, never mind whether they're kind of the chair or not. So do you want to tell us a bit more about your experience of being on a board and kind of any tips for other women wanting to get involved in organisations in that way?
Well, I have to say I feel a bit of a fraud here, actually, because actually I have two brothers. One is a year older than me and one is a year younger than me. And until I was about 15, the three of us were just called the boys. So that clip that we saw at the beginning about kids learning about gender definition or gender identity at the age of 5 to 7, that part of my education just kind of passed me by. I saw no distinction between men and women, and I kind of didn't see that as I went into the workplace either. So I just saw people, employees, bosses, and I just did the best that I could. Women are underrepresented in the boardroom, and they bring a different perspective, but their position on the board, around the board table, has to be on merit if the company is going to succeed. Because actually we could have lots of women there, and if they weren't terribly good, then the company would fail. So it has to be on merit, but actually women have an equal ability to be, and we have a different perspective. Women like to build things for the long term. They look at sustainability, whether that's the female nurturing side of us, and let's be proud of what we are really good at. And that's one of the things I think we're really good at, is nurturing things and people. So we bring that element, which perhaps men don't bring. They're a bit more gung-ho. They kind of want results quite quickly and quite now. But actually it needs that nurturing balance that a woman brings. So we're all capable of doing it, and we should celebrate the success, so celebrate the differences and the different angle that we come from. I've actually forgotten what your question was.
Well, the question was about a bit more about your experience being on a board, but any tips for anyone wanting to join? I was on a board.
Be yourself, be proud of what you can bring, think about things perhaps differently. But actually, when I've got around a boardroom table, again, I haven't given a thought to the fact that I'm a woman and I've got less right to be there. Actually, I've got just as much right to be there as anybody else. And I think I'm there on merit. So if that's what you want to do, and actually as I've progressed through my career, what I wanted out of it and what I think I can bring to something has changed. So the board of directors, board of trustees in this case, it's a bit like it's a bit like the board of governors in a school is the biggest equivalent that people can understand. So you're not involved in the day-to-day. So I stand back at a bit of a distance, but I'm bringing the experience and expertise I've got from other companies to bear. So I can look at what we do and say, well, have we thought about such and such? This is fantastic. What about tweaking it? So so it's all about breadth of thinking and that different angle that women come from.
And you talked a bit there about kind of, you know, yourself not considering, you know, to be any different from a man and having, you know, the right to the same voice in a room. And that's kind of come up a few times, kind of the confidence that we need to have in ourselves. And one of the things that has shown to have, one of the reasons of why we have kind of slower progress with women's development in organisations is because of that first step on the career ladder kind of taking longer to be achieved, and there being less opportunity for that. Kind of opening up to all of you, is there anyone in particular that really stood out for you in those early parts of your career, whether male or female, that helped you along and kind of inspired you a bit? Kirsten, I think you had a really good teacher, perhaps.
Yeah, so like I said previously, my engineering teacher was female, and she did stand out in a class full of like boys. She was a female teacher, so that inspired me in the fact that she was the change, and she inspired that change and showed me that there was either a career in teaching, but teaching engineering, and also she had previously had a career in engineering. So just being that one person inspired the change in me as well. Being an apprentice, there was obviously in engineering as well, there's lots more boys, more males, but my apprentice manager was a female, and so in kind of the authority of being an apprentice, being in engineering, that was also another woman that inspired me, because she kind of was the change. She showed me it was possible rather than people telling me things. She was there showing me. So I think that's really important too. But just one person can change another person and a whole group of people to follow. Yeah, definitely.
It's not just about inspiring role models either, though. There's a question I can see in the chat about what stage I decided to join the air ambulance, and actually it was a male colleague, and he approached me and said, "Would you like to fly on the air ambulance?" And my answer was, "I'm sure you don't need a small middle-aged woman in glasses." And he said, because I was 50, and I'm not very tall, and I am just a small, fairly weedy, was middle-aged woman with glasses. And he said, "No, you're exactly what we need." And that was so enabling, actually. That just made a massive difference. So yes, inspirational role models are important, but everybody can be an ally and an enabler in all of this. So yes, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have done it. So I'm eternally grateful to him.
And I think that peer support, again, talking to you all kind of before this, the peer support aspect of anyone being in the workplace, I think is really important. And in talking to you before, you each had kind of examples where female peers particularly had been really helpful in kind of the work environment, and perhaps not so helpful in kind of comments about, well, lots of different things. But is there any examples you've got of really good co-working from kind of female peers, and perhaps any times there was maybe room for a bit of improvement as well? I'm going to pick one of you. Go on, Paige, you take that one.
I'm really sorry, but I can't hear anything.
Oh no! Oh no, sorry. Well, hopefully, if the tech person is listening, then they can sort that out. Can the rest of you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Maybe Henny, then let's go to you. Any examples of kind of peers being really supportive in the workplace, and perhaps when they could have done a bit better?
Are you talking about other women or just?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So actually working with women is really new for me. Before I joined EAAA, I hadn't ever worked with any women. And from a flying perspective, I hadn't ever flown I fly multi-crew, so the other pilot being a woman, I've never been in that situation. So yeah, it's quite new for me. And yeah, I am the only pilot at the moment at EAAA, so I'm still in a position whereby I'm not flying with another female yet, but hopefully soon. But yeah, working with CCPs and doctors is great. But yeah, it's not really, I'm probably not the best person to pick because I haven't yet flown with another female.
Well, let's move on to kind of talking about so you're all mums in the room, and the International Women's Day Women in the Workplace Report 2020 identifies that women in particular were negatively impacted by COVID-19, but in that particularly mothers. And I suppose again, this came up quite a lot in the social media questions before the event. Have you got any tips for working mums out there? I mean, amongst your kind of careers, there's really different challenges, and any tips for other mums that are kind of in similar position, perhaps how you juggle it, kind of things to think about? Pam, I'll let you take that one because you're a mum and a grandma.
Yeah, I'm a mum and a grandma. Yeah, so being a grandma is much more fun than being a mum ever was. So I suppose for me, I spent about 15 years in a state of guilt. I worked full-time for some of that. I worked part-time for some of that. Wherever I was, I felt guilty. So if I was at work, I felt guilty about not being at home. If I was at home, I felt guilty about not being at work. And that was just wrong. That was pressure I put on myself, really. So I think try not to feel guilty is the first thing, because our crowns always slip a little bit when we're mums as well as working. It's really difficult to keep it all going. So no matter how hard it is, we've all felt that way. And I suppose the other thing is that it's really important to try and take opportunities. So for me, there were definitely choices I made where I limited my own opportunities. I didn't have access to the same opportunities that other people might have had. It was my choice. I made those choices. I didn't want, for instance, to take my children out of school. I was a single parent at the time. I didn't want to take them. I had a job offer in Cambridge. I did not want to uproot my children and move them to Cambridge. So I limited my own choices. That's fine for me, but if you translate that across women as a whole, there's a massive impact. I think women's choices and their access to opportunities is still, I think, limited in many ways, in very subtle ways, which then translates into women being poorer, having worse pensions, all that kind of stuff as we go down the line. So I think that's the two things, really. Don't feel guilty, and if you have got opportunities, please try and take them, because it is worth it.
And then they're associated, really. Like if you're feeling guilty, then you're less likely to ask for help. If you stop feeling guilty, you're more likely to ask for help. And there's lots of people in the chat box kind of agreeing that the guilt doesn't ever really go away for working mums, and also kind of you then put that in a male dominant sector, and if the man isn't kind of the primary child carer, then just the differences of kind of that in that environment, I think is really difficult to tackle. I'm going to go to another question that's come in from the audience, and this is again to everybody. Which women inspire you? So you are an amazing bunch of women that you'll see in the chat afterwards. Lots of people are inspired by it, but who inspires the inspiring women? Sarah, let's hear from you.
Do you know, I'm not sure I've got an individual, but I look at all these amazing women in history who have been pioneers because they've been so passionate about something, so determined that they want to do something, that they've found a way to do it. Now, of course, I don't know what sacrifices they might have made on the way. It's a bit like the choices that Pam has just been talking about. But was it Elizabeth Garrett Anderson, Pam, first ever female doctor or something? She couldn't find a university in the UK who would train her to be a doctor, so she went to Paris. But actually, when she then came back, she made sure that universities started allowing women to join. Now, that is inspirational. The people who can make a difference, not only to their own careers, but to other people, future generations. I'd like to find a way I could do that, because that's inspirational. The people who really make permanent, lasting changes. That's fantastic.
And hopefully that's what we're doing with this. I think, if I'm mid-30s and I'm only became aware that there was a helicopter emergency medical service about 6 years ago. But to think that there's females flying that helicopter and kind of attending the people on it. I think a lot of it is about what we're exposed to, which the video at the start of this showed as well. It's about getting those images of amazing women in front of young children and kind of inspiring them that way. But anyone else on the panel, any women that really inspire you?
I'm inspired by the people I work with, like Paige, Pam, or the female doctors. It's not in my field, but it makes me want to be better in my field by seeing how incredible they are. It's really inspirational to come in and see just what amazing work they do, and I get to see that firsthand every day, watching them. So yeah, they inspire me.
So I'd like to nominate my mum, please, who's been dead quite a long time. But actually, Sarah, your story of being raised with brothers really resonates with me, because so was I. And despite, growing up in the 60s and 70s, my parents were remarkably forward-thinking. We were raised exactly the same. Whatever talents we had were nurtured. It didn't really matter. They weren't gender specific. So I'm a notoriously hopeless cook, as some of you know. But my brother's a really good cook, for instance. But
I can bowl a good cricket ball.
Me too, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, indeed. So I think mums are so important. So if I say we're all mums, if there are mums out there, you probably are the most important role model out there. So just however it is for you, just being the best you can be, your kids will love and appreciate that, and you will be their role model going forward. So I think that is really important. My mum was amazing. She was a housewife. She taught herself Italian when she was 60. She learned to swim when she was over 60 for the first time. I mean, she just kept learning, stayed curious, stayed amazing her whole life, which was, for me, is really inspirational. So yeah, I
feel like we all should have had a glass of bubbly and we can do a big cheers to the mums. Yeah, my mum's pretty cool as well. I know she'll be watching. So hi, mum.
Can I say something, Holly, that might be a bit controversial?
Please do.
There's a lot today about challenging the gender norm. Actually, I want to be treated as an individual. I don't even want to be treated, as a homogenous. I'd like a position when the world treats us all as individuals, not saying there is a gender norm or there is a human race norm. Actually, all of the human race is built up of millions, trillions of individuals. And actually, if we can get to a position in the world when we're all treated as individuals, then we've succeeded. There will be give and take, there will be compromises, and we all have to do that. But actually, if we're all willing and we want to get on, actually we'll jog along just quite well like that. So the word gender norm really bothers me, challenging it or not. I'm an individual.
I think that's one of the reasons that drove us to put on this event, really, because as I said at the start, we have a really nice flat structure at EAAA. We're all, as Henny, you said, I'm a kind of ground crew member at EAAA, and we're all massively inspired by the work that the crew do. Anyone kind of back office, it's an amazing place to be, and actually, you can excel and anything, regardless of kind of your gender and your position. But I suppose the reason that we wanted to put this on is because, unfortunately, and this links quite nicely into another question that I think is a really good one, is things do exist in the world still that aren't, offering us that equal opportunity. And this is quite a niche one, but one of the questions came in from my colleague Leanne, and this one was kind of targeted at you, Paige, really, and kind of suppose anyone in the crew. But is there anything you can think of in your job whereby equipment you've needed has felt like it was designed specifically for a man, or wasn't necessarily designed for, Pam, you're laughing, wasn't designed for a female body or a female's use? And I think that comes when there's a lot of research being done about.
Yeah, our whole entire uniform is definitely modelled entirely on male body. I can't actually zip up my flight top because it's basically upside down triangle shaped, so I can't actually get it around my hips, and it's really big around my arms. And I haven't. There's a few crew members that like to take their flight suits off to be tailored. I'm not one of them yet. But
imagine who that might be.
But yeah, so definitely our uniform, but that's not just only at EAAA. That's pretty much any uniform service, from what I've heard from colleagues in the police, definitely in the ambulance service as well. My uniform in green is equally as terrible fitting for a female.
But what is the impact of that on the job? I mean, there must be times when you're in the moment and it's really annoying. You've got to keep hoiking your top back, or pulling your trousers up.
It is quite frustrating. But the crotch on the flight suits can be quite long, so you're constantly hiking those up. And yeah, to be honest, the jacket thing is only really quite frustrating when we have to do things like get photographs for the charity and stuff in front of the helicopter, because they all say, "Can you zip your top up, please?" And I'm like, actually no, and it just makes you feel like the chubby one on the end. But then you've just got big bat wings, and then really tight around the hips. I'm sure that'll help no end after a year on maternity leave. I can't wait to put my flight suit back on. But that's it really. In terms of the equipment, well, I'm a big strong girl, so I can carry and lug all the stuff around, no problem at all. So no, in terms of the equipment, I don't think a bag's a bag, the defib's the defib, and the stuff we have to carry and lug around is not really gender specific, apart from there's always a very useful fireman that is desperate to carry my bag for me, so I'll probably continue.
You might let him.
Exactly.
And is a fitness test part of the job when you apply? Do you have to do a fitness test?
Yes, there is a fitness test. I think it changes quite frequently. But when I had to do a fitness test, there was a fitness test. We had to carry the I think it's something like 30 kilograms in a bag, and walk up and down stairs, and then do something quite dexterous. So I think the point of it is to try and get you out of breath, and trying to simulate you, because we have to land often quite far away from the scene sometimes, and we're hiking quite quickly with a lot of kit, and then we have to obviously treat the patient under pressure and potentially out of breath. So they try and simulate that by getting you out of breath and carrying heavy equipment, and then trying to get you to do something dexterous, like put a catastrophic tourniquet on, or do some CPR, or put an airway in, or something like that. And then there was a body drag, so a 70 kilogram mannequin that we had to drag up and down the heart base. I've never had to do that yet since joining HEMS, so
I'm shaking her head.
That's made of, but certainly the arriving at scene quite out of breath and a bit tired from marching through a ploughed field with a big heavy bag and a defib and a ventilator. That happen occasionally, and then climbing over a hedge or a fence or something like that as well.
There
And
are
again,
times when being a girl is quite helpful, though, aren't there? Because there's lots of times when having small fingers and being able to get through small spaces is quite helpful as well.
Yeah.
So, it swings and roundabouts, really.
Yeah, definitely in the back of the helicopter when we're in flight and we need something right at the back. It's quite easy being able to squeeze down to the back. Yeah.
A lot of our male colleagues are kind of quite tall as well in the crew, aren't there? There's a few quite tall ones. Henny, you had a really, well, I don't know if it's a good example, but you had a situation with some equipment you were given when you were offshore that wasn't quite fit for a female body, didn't you?
So when I first started offshore, we wear life jackets to go offshore, and they only had 2 sizes, so I just took the smaller size and presumed that would be okay. But actually, when I did my survival training, I was told it wasn't going to be fit for purpose. It would have not kept me afloat. It would have gone over my head had I needed it, and I'd actually needed a smaller size. And of course, it was sorted out, but they hadn't considered maybe that, smaller frames might need a smaller size. And if anyone can solve the helmet problem of not if you forget to untie your hair before you try and put your helmet on, you don't get your helmet on, which is something the men definitely don't have to deal with.
Yeah, that is definitely something I have to do every time I arrive at scene. I have to take my helmet off, stick it between my legs, get a load of a kit on, walk to scene whilst trying to do my hair back up again, because the last thing I want to do is arrive to a scene with the hair down my back. But you can't put it on with, you can't put your helmet on with your hair up, so I'm constantly trying to waddle to scene, carrying everything and putting my hair at the same time. And if I've forgotten my bobble or I've lost it or dropped it, it's a nightmare.
It's almost like there's quite a lot to think about when you're trying to save someone's life, isn't there? Quite a lot going on. So I'm conscious of time. We haven't got much longer left, actually. I think we could all keep chatting for ages. But I'm going to go to some questions that my colleague has just handed me that are in the chat box. We're having some really nice comments. Lots of people kind of agreeing with lots of things that you've said, and kind of recommending good books and stuff for everybody to read, which is really cool. So I'm going to, Paige, actually, there's a question just coming for you. Was it competitive to get a secondment at EAAA?
Yeah, I think any HEMS job is quite competitive for a paramedic. I can only speak for a paramedic. I assume it's similar for the doctors and the FEM trainees and things, but for a paramedic, yeah, it is quite competitive. I think it's something like, if I saw a poll a few years ago, and something like 90% of paramedics are interested in becoming a HEMS paramedic. So it is very competitive, but that doesn't make it unachievable. Definitely, if I can do it, anyone can. It's just something you have to kind of put the effort in a while before you actually go to apply. So you can't actually apply for EAAA for a secondment until, I think it's 3 years at least after your initial qualification as a paramedic. So it's about making those 3 years. At least I think most people that go on to get a secondment have been actually a paramedic a fair bit longer than that, but making those years count if it's something you really want to do. So I went to every single clinical governance day for EAAA for about 2 years. So I got to know a lot of the crew. I got to know the pilots, the doctors. I then did a bit of charity work for them as well, as a volunteer before I worked for EAAA as an employee. So yeah, you can
Got yourself out there.
Yeah, exactly. And then absolutely everything, any other training opportunity that came my way, I was on it. So difficult airway courses, ALS courses, pre-hospital anesthesia courses, like absolutely anything that was gonna make my chances better, I was doing it, because I was getting this job no matter what.
Yeah. Our chief exec Patrick has said in the chat the last time there was 300 applicants for 7 posts.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't think I said this at the start actually, but I feel like I need to plug now that we were Best Employer at the EDP Norfolk Business Awards, which was announced in November last year. So we're obviously all quite biased, but I've been here 6 years tomorrow, and EAAA is an absolutely brilliant place to be. So I can completely understand why there would be that much interest in a job. My colleagues are waving at me that we're going to finish soon, so I'm going to try and whip through some more questions. Kirsten, I am not the only one that doesn't quite understand what you do. So someone has asked, what do you do in your job at Bestpac?
So my particular job is basically auditing paperwork, if I was to put it in a really short statement. But so we manufacture medical devices that are made from plastic. So they're injection molded, they're a finished product, and before they launch to market, I approve the validation of the equipment, of the materials, of the products to say, yes, they are safe for us to constantly make and for them to go to market. So that's like a really shortened version.
Cool, thank you. And again, I think one of the points of this event is to raise awareness of different jobs. There's lots of jobs out there that we just don't know exist. So thank you for that. Henny, another one for you. Is there an upper age limit to be able to fly? Perhaps we've got someone who's thinking, oh, can I do a last ditch attempt?
No, go for it, definitely. So to fly single pilot, you stop when you're 60, and to fly multi-pilot, 65.
Okay. I need that person to put in the chat now whether they're going to go for it or not. I don't know what age they are. Cool. Let me have a look. One more question. I'm going to ask that one at the end. Pam, how do you feel after leaving the air ambulance? I worked in A&E and wish I had done that job now. Wish I'd done your job now. So how do you feel now?
Well, I haven't left completely. I haven't left completely because I'm still going to be working on the operational side, doing basically operational side, doing clinical governance and things like that. So I'm sad. It's been the best part of my career by far. It's a wonderful organisation to work for. It's a fantastic job. When I started, I was a volunteer. So for me, it was about using my skills to give back to my local community. And that was really important to me. So it's been a fantastic 12 years for me to be able to treat patients on the air ambulance. However, as I said before, the time is right. I am getting a bit older now, and we just have this amazing cohort of bright young things who are more than ready and willing to step into my shoes. They're jostling me out of the way. No, they're not jostling me out of the way. So I am sad for me because I won't be treating patients anymore, and that's part of my DNA. That's who I am. But I'm also really excited by the future of the charity. I think it's such a bright future, and I'm very excited still to be part of that.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, yeah, we'll be very sad to see you kind of change into your different bit, but very glad you'll still be around.
I'm seriously thinking of retraining as a pilot now, to be honest.
You've got time.
A year in Florida will be
fine. That's it. Before I do our final question, which will be kind of to all of you, I just want to thank you so much for joining us. The comments are that people have really enjoyed it and found it really valuable hearing from each of you. I've absolutely loved it. I know my colleagues will be really enjoying it as well. So thank you so much for what you do and for contributing to the air ambulance in the way that you do. To anyone watching, if you've enjoyed it at all, then please, if you feel compelled to text in, which would donate £5, or you want to click the donate button, then, as I said, we need to raise £50 million to deliver and develop the work that we do. So any contribution towards doing that would be very, very welcome. Thank you. If you've enjoyed tonight, you can keep leaving comments, follow us on social media. If you want to send us an email, you can do it via info@eAAA.org.uk. But before we close, I want to ask a question to all of you. Which has come in kind of different forms. If you could go back to your younger self and give yourself a piece of advice, what would it be? Sarah, let's start with you.
I haven't got a clue. I think have more confidence in yourself. I think women lack confidence. They lack putting themselves forward, whereas men tend to put themselves forward all the time, and I think women don't. And actually, why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we ask for what we want? So I think have more confidence. Ask for what you want.
Brilliant, thank you.
I really agree with that, and yeah, worry less about being different. Just do it. Don't give up. Just keep going.
Brilliant, thank you. Kirsten, anything from you?
I would say I was called tenacious. I was called bossy, loud, and they're not bad things, although they were perceived that way. It just means you're going to have great leadership skills and you have great confidence. So yeah, don't take things negatively. Use your strengths and your personality to your advantage.
Brilliant, thank you. Lots about just be different, just let yourself stand out, I think is what I'm getting from you all. Paige, what about you?
I think it's quite, I would honestly just tell myself to keep doing what you're doing, even when it feels like you don't know what you're doing. Keep doing that, because with hindsight, it got me to where I am now, and I wouldn't change it for the world. This is exactly where I want to be. So I must have done something right. So yeah, I had to just tell myself to keep doing what I'm doing, even if I'm writing essays with 2 hours to go.
And Pam, final thoughts from you? What would you tell your younger self, other than you should have become a pilot?
Yeah, believe in yourself and hold that dream. Just hold that dream.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, ladies, and to everybody watching, happy International Women's Day. Hope you've enjoyed the evening, and we hope to see you all very soon. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for watching.
Bye.